You're watching Newsday TV. I'm Shari Einhorn. A high school student was killed and 6 others injured in an East Hampton car crash. Now the 18-year-old driver is facing DWI charges. Andrew Anger spoke to a classmate and will bring us more on that story in just a few moments. Meanwhile, a favorite stop for many Penn Station commuters is coming to Grand Central Madison. The MTA announced new vendors in its retail space, which includes Track's Raw Bar and Grill. The restaurant will have the same menu and railroad memorabilia that Penn Station commuters have seen for 20 years. The spot will open this summer. Raising Cane's could be coming to Carl Place. This would be the first spot on Long Island for the chain known for its chicken fingers. The town of North Hempstead has approved site plans for the project at the former Chateaubriand Catering Hall site. The company also hoping to open locations in Comac and Farmingdale. Now we have a quick check of tomorrow's weather. It is cloudy with temps near 70. We will check the 7-day forecast in a little while. A high school student died in a car crash and the 18-year-old driver is now facing DWI charges. Andrew Anger spoke with a classmate and a witness to the tragedy.
Car parts littered the side of Old Stone Highway in East Hampton. Tire marks and a scarred tree, reminders of a car crash Sunday evening that took the life of a 19-year-old girl. Jenny Desmond lives nearby, heard the crash and ran with her kids to see if they could help.
We saw them extract one living person from the car, and then the jaws of life came out, at which point I asked the kids to go back home.
East Hampton police say 18-year-old Luis Gonzalo Barrenuevo Fuertes from Moriches was driving a Toyota Camry with 7 young people inside. One of his passengers, 19-year-old Scarlett Urgilis of East Hampton, was pronounced dead. Others were taken to area hospitals and police say will survive. At East Hampton High School today, where the victim went to school, counselors were brought in. As the victim's friend says, everyone was stunned at the news.
Everyone sad, and the teachers was crying, and feel like the school was so just bad.
In court, prosecutors say Barrenuevo Fuertes had admitted to drinking at the beach earlier in the day before the accident and had crossed into the opposite lane of travel when his car crashed head-on into a tree. He's being charged with aggravated DWI under Leandra's law since some of his passengers were 16 years old. During his arraignment in East Hampton Justice Court, Barrenuevo Fuertes audibly sobbed and was shaking so much his attorney had him sit down as the charges were read.
My client is devastated. He was fully cooperative with law enforcement. His family does want to say that they are extremely sorry to the person that lost their life. Everyone is devastated. This is an absolute tragedy.
Barrenuevo Fuertes was held on $400,000 cash bond, and his attorney says he has no criminal history. Meantime, Jenny Desmond says she had a serious talk with her kids about drinking and driving.
People think that they're, untouchable, and they're not. Life is so fragile.
In East Hampton, Andrew Anger, Newsday TV.
A lawyer says a mother of 5 from Brentwood with no criminal record is in the process of being deported. Virginia Huey spoke with her family.
It's a nightmare that one wishes would end.
Choking back tears, this Brentwood woman speaks about her family being torn apart by the detention of her sister by ICE agents. Nuvia Yesenia Martinez Ventura is a Brentwood mother of 5. Her sister and brother say Ventura was taken into ICE custody on June 11th after a routine immigration court hearing in Manhattan. Her attorney says Ventura is spending today, her 30th birthday, being flown to a detention center in Houston as part of the deportation process.
I feel also it's an injustice that they're doing. More than anything because she has sick children who depend on her.
Newsday is concealing Ventura's siblings' faces at their request. They say 2 of Ventura's children have autism. Her 11-year-old son has juvenile diabetes. We're told he was hospitalized Saturday due to the stress of being separated from his mother, who usually gives him his insulin injections. Her sister says she spoke briefly to Ventura by phone.
She says she misses her children and she doesn't want her children to die.
Ventura's family and attorneys say her case illustrates how ICE is not only rounding up violent criminals, but also immigrants seeking asylum.
They're going after criminals, but it's not true. She's not a criminal. As counsel, I haven't been given access to her. This marks the 6th day that she is detained and is a huge violation of her due process rights.
Ventura's family says she fled to Long Island from El Salvador in 2016 after she witnessed her husband being murdered by gang members. They say she was seeking to reopen her case for political asylum when she was picked up.
She's part of a pattern of ICE picking up people who are cooperating, right? People who are showing up affirmatively with their check-ins.
Her family says they're holding out hope that humanity will win out.
We have hope that God touches the hearts of these people, that they can allow her to come here and be with her children.
For Newsday TV, I'm Virginia Huey.
The next stop for Amtrak, Ronkonkoma.
I can't, why would we need a train to go to Philly?
Under this proposal, Amtrak would run 3 trains a day all the way out to Ronkonkoma, also making stops at Hicksville and Jamaica, and connecting all the way down to Washington, D.C. Now, you might be thinking, who's going to be on these trains? Amtrak says it's more people than you might think.
There is significant demand out there for folks on Long Island to travel to Philadelphia or Baltimore or DC. They can take the train, but it does require a transfer. And what we at New York Penn, and if you think about our customer base, where these are people who have baggage, multiple bags, strollers, a lot of equipment with them. Not having to make that transfer makes a big difference.
Amtrak has been considering coming to Long Island for years, but recently took a big step by completing the first part in a 3-part program administered by the Federal Railroad Administration, which has to approve the plan. The next step, which Amtrak expects to start later this year, would involve coordinating with the Long Island Railroad on how it would implement the new service. Train passengers both at the LIRR's Ronkonkoma station and Amtrak's Moynihan Train Hall had mixed views about the plan.
I don't see why you just can't switch. Amtrak is right upstairs on Penn Station.
It's only a few hours away. Rather than getting in a car and driving all that way, it'd be nice to just be able to hop on a train and go down for the day even.
I'm in a long-distance relationship. I go to D.C. every other weekend, and I live close to Jamaica. It would be great for me instead of having to come here. But that's just for me. On a grander meta level, it makes absolutely no sense.
Why do you say that?
Because there's not enough business or traffic from Ronkonkoma out.
Now, before you go booking that trip down to the nation's capital, understand that there's a long way to go before this plan becomes a reality, and plenty of steps that Amtrak still has to take, not the least of which is buying an entire new fleet of trains that could operate on the Long Island Railroad's tracks. In the Moynihan Train Hall in Manhattan, for NewsdayTV, I'm Alfonso Castillo.
Only in Newsday, your health care could be in jeopardy. President Trump's big, beautiful bill threatens access to Obamacare for tens of thousands of Long Islanders. Newsday's David Olson looks at what the proposed changes could mean for you.
The Affordable Care Act, which often is called Obamacare, it would lead to a number of changes that would mean that millions of people across the country would no longer have coverage. And one of the big changes for New York is taking a large group of immigrants off of Affordable Care Act. Basically, it's people who have not been here as long as others. It would include, for example, the children who were brought to the country illegally and are now allowed to live here legally, and refugee and asylum. People have been granted refugee and asylum, and temporary workers, student exchange visitors, people like that.
Let's take a closer look now at your 7-day forecast. It looks like more rain is on tap for Wednesday, but we've got warmer, sunny days ahead for the end of the week and for the weekend.
Long Island weather is brought to you by Fire Island Ferries.
You're watching Newsday TV. For more on all of the stories you've seen here today, head over to Newsday.com, click Get More under the Newsday TV video box. I'm Shari Einhorn. Thanks for joining us.